Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me okay. My
Yes.
name is Helene Hine. I'm the Marketing Manager for Solar Protection here at CRODA. And today I'm delighted to present to you a novel zinc oxide particle design for safe and transparent solar protection. So introducing to you a new generation of zinc oxide powders and dispersions for protection products that offer both safety and transparency for the end consumer. And this is our new product line called Solivale Micno. Before I talk to you about the technical details of the product, I wanted just to first emphasize something that's really important to CRODA as a business, and that is our commitment to be climate, land, and people positive by 2030. So we will use our smart science to promote healthy lives and well-being through the development and application of our ingredients and technologies. So these commitments are aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And one that is quite specific to solar protection is the SDG number 3, which relates to good health and well-being. And our purpose specifically for solar protection is that by 2030, we will protect at least 60 million people annually from potentially developing skin cancer from harmful UV rays through the use of our solar protection ingredients. Now, one of the key developments in the last few years has been the increase in mineral sunscreens in our market. And this slide just shows you a snapshot of the key market data about zinc oxide and the reasons for this shift to mineral sunscreens and why the mineral zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are being much more widely used in more recent years compared to the past. So there were around 15% of sunscreens launched from January 2020 to December 2020 that used mineral sunscreens only. That means no organic sunscreens at all. And Mintel GMPD report that this is because mineral and physical sunscreens are perceived as being safer on consumer and planetary health. When we look specifically at the sun protection market and how many launches just contain zinc oxide, we see a huge increase over the past 5 years. So from June 2015 to May 2020, we saw an increase in the number of launches that goes from around 5% up to almost 12%. So the launches containing just zinc oxide has doubled. This is because brands are really embracing the shift to safer and eco-mineral sunscreens. However, it's important to note that there are some drawbacks to these types of UV filters. And as the mineral sunscreen space becomes busier, brands need to stand out by promoting clean beauty formulas, highlighting minimal ingredients and hero ingredients. The key here is to allay any drawbacks that are associated with mineral filters. And I'm sure if you've worked with mineral filters, you know what those drawbacks are, that they can wear off quickly or that they can leave a white cast on the skin. So this is why we are introducing this new product into our line, which is a hero ingredient for your clean beauty brands. That is Solivale Micno. So this technology has all the benefits of micron-sized zinc oxide with unrivaled transparency on skin. This slide shows two SEM images. On the left, you have the Solavel Mycno. So here you can see these patented and platelet-shaped particles. These are large particles, they're micron size, they're much larger than a conventional zinc oxide. And the image on the right shows that conventional zinc oxide. You can see here the smaller particles, they're spherical shaped. So two completely different contrasting size and shapes there. So I'm not sure if the technology will allow me to share this video, but I'm going to try. And if not, I can talk you through in the slides that follow a little bit more about how this new technology works. And in fact, I don't have the sound here, so I'm sure you don't either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the slides that I have that explain how this product works. So essentially, when you have a conventional zinc oxide sunscreen, UV light is absorbed as it passes through the sunscreen film. The zinc oxide particles will absorb and scatter and reflect light, and this reduces the amount of UV light that reaches the skin. Now, with a conventional zinc oxide sunscreen, you do get some scattering back to the surface, and that means the formulation, when it's applied to the skin with the zinc oxide, can appear white on the skin. If you look to the right, you can see an example of what happens with Solavel Mycno particles. Because of their unique platelet shape and structure, they produce an ordered arrangement on the surface of the skin. And it's this ordered structure that gives less scattering and reflection of light back to the surface. And that means it has unrivaled transparency on skin. So above the diagrams of how the product works, we've got the SEM image and also a skin image. This is of skin phototype 3, where the zinc oxide has been applied in a 5x5 square centimetre area. And it's been used from a basic water and oil emulsion. So you can see, well, I hope you can see, because I'm not sure what your screen is like there, guys, but hopefully you can see that the conventional zinc oxide sunscreen has some whitening on the skin. You can see this square where it's been applied. Whereas if you compare this with the Solavel Mycno, you can barely really see it applied to the skin. And this is even more impressive because what you have with the Solavel Mycno is really large particles. These are micron sized, whereas the conventional zinc oxide sunscreen is a small particle, nano-sized zinc oxide. So now I'm going to move on to talk a bit more about the features and benefits. So the benefits of Solavel Mycno. First of all, it has unrivaled transparency on skin, as you've just seen, and that really makes it suitable for a wide range of applications. So not just sunscreens for babies, which is where zinc oxide has been mainly used in the past. It means it can be used for facial sunscreens, for daily sun, and also finds use in applications for different skin phototypes. So with this product, we have a product that is possibly, it's now possible to make formulations not just for skin types 1 and 2. Another important benefit of this product is its broad spectrum. Obviously, that applies to all types of zinc oxide, but that is a really important benefit for this type of technology, especially now with minimalist formulations. So you can use this product on its own, or you can combine it with titanium dioxide, and that would also allow you to make a mineral-only sunscreen claim and also achieve high SPF values. Another really important benefit for this product is that it has claims that appeal to natural brands. So in the clean beauty space, there's often claims like non-nano, alumina-free, cosmos, vegan, those sorts of claims that really resonate with the types of consumers that want clean sunscreens, natural and sustainable solutions. And so this product technology offers that for the consumer. And lastly, but I think one of the most important benefits for this product is its safety. So zinc oxide is really synonymous with being very mild and very safe. It's obviously used in baby creams, nappy ointments, and has been used in sunscreens for many, many years. And this is really why a lot of brands do like the zinc oxide technology. It's inherently mild, it's non-irritant, there's no evidence of allergenicity. This makes it ideal for babies and sensitive skin and clean sunscreen brands, but also means it's a perfect solution for daily use sunscreens. And as consumers now are looking to protect themselves every day from UV exposure, this makes Solavel Micno perfect for that. So just to describe to you the products in the range, this is the Solavel Micno range that has the name Solavel MZ, where M stands for Micno and zinc for zinc oxide. Within the product line, there are 3 powders, uncoated, silane coated and stearic acid coated, and 3 dispersions, an uncoated in alkyl benzoate, uncoated in caprylic capric triglyceride, and silane coated in alkyl benzoate. Just more details on the product range. So the uncoated powder obviously has a very simple inky name, that's just zinc oxide, perfect for minimalist formulations. The Solavel MZP7, so 7 here denotes silane coating, so that's zinc oxide and triethoxycapryl silane. And then the third powder, MZP8, the 8 stands for stearic coated, so it's just zinc oxide and stearic acid. Then the 3 dispersions in the range. Solavel MZ3, the 3 is for the uncoated, as with the powder there, and the 100 means it's dispersed in alkyl benzoate. And we use a polyhydroxystearic acid dispersant. The MZ3 300 is the same. You can see there the uncoated, but this time is a GTCC dispersion, so a natural carrier fluid. And lastly, the MZ7, which is silane coated, which is dispersed in alkyl benzoate. So I'm now going to talk a little bit more about the structure and the function of the product. So again, some more SEM images, different magnifications and different angles to show the unique platelet morphology. So these micron-sized particles are formed from primary crystals of zinc oxide, and this is the patented part of the technology. You can see there's some hexagonal, some more irregular shapes, and these are flat. That's why we describe them as platelets that stack on top of each other. An important benefit of this is that they are micron-sized, and we've undertaken particle size analysis to determine their classification according to different nano regulations. So we've done particle size analysis of the uncoated Solavel Micno and measured it by geometric mean by mass by using a technique called X-ray disc centrifuge. That's the preferred test method we have here at CRODA. And the mean size is 516 nanometers. So it's around 500 nanometers, so a very, very large particle. And we've also measured the particle size by dynamic light scattering. Although our preferred technique is the X-ray disc centrifuge, we are often asked by customers for the data by dynamic light scattering. And what we've done here is measure the particle size by both volume and number according to those two different tests. And we've assessed whether it would fall in the definition of nano or non-nano. The definitions that we are applying here are the REACH definition and also the Cosmetics Europe interpretation of nano. And according to both those test methods and both those definitions, the Solovel Micno would be classified as non-nano. To do these measurements, we've also applied a lot of high shear energy, and this is important to make sure that the particles do not break down under processing or when they're applied to the skin. So samples were bead milled before measurement, and this subjects them to the highest shear possible. And this amount of energy is much higher than would be used during emulsion manufacture. So we are measuring the smallest particles that would be present in a formulation and when it's applied to the consumer's skin. And in all those cases, it is a non-nano particle size. This SEM images just shows the zoomed in structure. So you can see the platelets stacking and the formation as they will lay on the skin. So the platelet structure creates this ordered arrangement. And when you spread this on the skin, this is what gives you the unrivaled transparency on skin. Now I'm going to move on to show you some more details of what we mean by unrivaled transparency on skin. So here we compare uncoated zinc oxide powder grades. We've taken a competitor conventional uncoated zinc oxide and the Solovel MZP3, which is the uncoated Solovel Micno. We've applied 0.05 ml of formulation in a 5 by 5 square centimetre area in a water and oil emulsion containing 20% zinc oxide active. So on the top, so the samples nearest the wrist, you have the competitor conventional uncoated zinc oxide, and on the bottom, you have the Solovel Micno. So you can see in all cases on these different skin types, we have a much more transparent formulation when using Solovel Micno. This compares now dispersion grades, so exactly the same experiment in exactly the same order, and you can see again the Solovel Micno dispersion is much more, or is perhaps more comparable to the Solovel CZ, which is the competitor product here. But the interesting point here is that this is a non-nano grade. So you can see the Solovel Micno, even though it's a huge particle, that it's more than 5 times the size of this nanoparticle, it appears just as transparent on skin. So Solovel Micno powders have better transparency than the market-leading conventional zinc oxide, which is spherical and smaller, and is also comparable in transparency to the Solovel CZ, which is CRODA's leading zinc oxide. So despite its large size, Solovel Micno has comparable or better transparency than conventional smaller particles. This UV-Vis profile shows how its broad spectrum and compares it to other grades of zinc oxide. So we have the small particle zinc oxide in yellowy orange, Solovel Micno in blue, and a conventional grade in green. So you can see here you have UVB and UVA attenuation, the important peak, which is in the PPD part of the spectrum, and then the visible part, which is from 400 nanometers onwards. So the Solovel Micno from this profile looks like it would appear more like a conventional grade, but as you saw in the previous slides, it actually looks more like this yellow line, this small particle zinc oxide. I'm just going to move on to show you how it performs in terms of SPF efficacy. This is all in vivo data. It's very important for us at CRODA to do the in vivo. So what we've done is we've used 20% zinc oxide active in a basic unoptimized water in oil formulation. So this has no boosters. It's not really been optimized for SPF. It's a simple chassis to show the fundamental performance of the particle. And we've compared it to conventional zinc oxide, which is in the light blue, and the Solovel Micno is in the dark blue. So here, in both cases, you're getting around 0.5 SPF units for 1% active. This time we're comparing powder and dispersion. So we've compared the uncoated powder to the uncoated powder in dispersion. And you'll see here you actually get a higher SPF when you use the dispersion. And overall, this formulation is giving slightly higher performance. You're getting 0.75 SPF units per 1% active, whereas the dispersion, you're getting almost 1 SPF unit for 1% active. And just to summarise what we find with Invivo, now the BASF sunscreen simulator predicts that zinc oxide has an efficacy of about 0.42 to 0.66 SPF units for 1%. And what we've found is that Solavel Micno has an efficacy equal to or better than conventional zinc oxide. So you will get at least as good performance with your existing zinc oxide or better. And we have some more recent data which shows SPF efficacy of 1 unit or higher for 1% active. And of course, as we do at CRODA, we're continually developing our understanding and experience, and we are working with Solavel Micno to find greater efficiencies and formulate even higher SPFs. One important point I want to mention about Solavel Micno is its naturality. It's considered a derived mineral according to ISO 16128 that is obtained through chemical processing of inorganic substances occurring naturally in the earth, which have the same chemical composition as natural mineral ingredients. We have 3 products in the range that are Cosmos approved: the uncoated zinc oxide, the stearic acid coated, and the uncoated in GTCC. And these products are also vegan suitable, which means they're generally considered to be suitable for vegans. However, because there's no single definition of vegan suitable, if you are interested in making a vegan claim, please request our vegan suitability statement. As I mentioned before, one of the key benefits for me for this product is its safety and mildness. Chemical organic sunscreens do have some evidence of allergens, specifically benzophenones, cinnamates, and dibenzyl methanes. Whereas for mineral or inorganic sunscreen, there's no evidence of allergens and are actually recommended sunscreens for allergy sufferers. With chemical and organics, there is evidence that they are or may be absorbed through the skin, and the consequences of this absorption are not known. The FDA have requested more data from suppliers of organic sunscreens before they recognise them as generally safe and effective for the US market. Whereas the mineral inorganic sunscreens, there's substantial evidence that they largely do not penetrate the skin. And that is the conclusion of both the FDA and also the SCCS, the Scientific Committee for Consumer Safety in Europe. And the US categorise these as generally recognised and safe and effective. And if you want more information on this and the organic sunscreen concerns, I do have the reference here, which is from the Journal of American Medical Association. Lastly, the chemical organic sunscreens are permitted at only lower levels, typically around 5 to 10% depending on the country. However, the mineral inorganics are approved up to 25% globally. Now I just want to take a moment to talk to you about some claims we see on the marketplace when zinc oxide is used. You'll see a lot of the key themes I've already presented to you, but also some new types of claims that are coming in. The first example is a Ren Clean sunscreen. This is claimed to be a 99% natural. It talks about it being suitable for daily use. So I mentioned before the mildness of zinc oxide is great for this type of claim. It includes 22% non-nano zinc oxide, and it talks about it being a physical shield that sits gently on the skin surface. The second example is an everyday face lotion with SPF 15, and this is from the Alafia brand, which is about being an ethical brand. So it's an ethical formulated certified fair trade formulation and has quite a simple claim to prevent sunburn. This uses 10% zinc oxide. The next example, this is a Beauty by Earth. This is an SPF 20. It's a facial sunscreen, and this makes claims about being reef safe and biodegradable. It talks about being free from parabens, nanoparticles, chemical fragrance, oxybenzone, toxic chemicals, etc. So it's really going from the free from angle with their claims. The fourth example here is another reef safe product. This claims to have non-nano mineral filters, talks about being safe for sensitive skin, coral reefs, and it also has a tone up claim, which is a really important claim in the Asian market. This is an interesting one because it's the first time I've really seen reef safe claims being made in Asia. It's normally a claim we see most in Europe and the US. And last but not least, there's Dermalogica Physical Defense. This claims to be weightless, provides invisible defense, and is using non-nano zinc oxide. So just to take a moment on two claims mentioned on pack there that are becoming a lot more prevalent in the market, but often cause some confusion. At CRODA, we get a lot of questions at the moment on this. The first one is reef safe. So there are no regulations covering reef safe claims. The definition varies depending on the brand making that claim. The examples I just showed you on the market make this claim on the basis of the absence of the banned organic sunscreens, oxybenzone and octinoxate. They've been banned in Hawaii and some other territories. So they are claiming to be reef safe because they don't contain those. And the second claim is biodegradability. Now, this is quite a difficult one if you're from a chemistry background to understand how biodegradability can relate to mineral ingredients, because biodegradability is a measure of how quickly organic carbons degrade in the ecosystem. So where there's no organic compounds, such as with a mineral like zinc oxide, that kind of measurement isn't relevant. So the formula is claimed to be biodegradable. It's because the components of the formulation that contain organic carbons are biodegradable. So it takes out the mineral component in that calculation. If these types of claims are interesting, we have a lot more information on this. So please speak to a sales rep from CRODA who can put you in touch, and you can look at our clean sunscreen presentation. But back to Solovel Micno. This product has very broad regulatory approval. It's USP compliant for the US market, so it conforms to the FDA. And it also has JSQI and Korean monograph compliance and Australian monograph compliance. It's China IECIC listed, and we have Cosmos approved variants, 3 of the 6 in the range. They're all considered ISO 16128 derived minerals. They all have halal approval, and they're all vegan suitable. So in the range, we have 3 uncoated versions and also 3 coatings. The MZP7 is silane, the MZ7 is the silane in dispersion, and the MZP8 is stearic acid. These hydrophobic coatings help to ease formulation, especially with incorporation into the oil phase of the emulsion or to the silicone phase in silicone-based systems. So I'm now going to move on just to cover some formulation guidelines. Now, Solovel Micno has a unique platelet structure, and its high surface area means it can be more challenging to formulate. One of the key challenges is using sufficient oil to wet the particles to allow emulsification. So I'm going to talk through some of these guidelines with you now. First of all, it's important to consider whether you want to use a powder or a dispersion. Powders allow for flexibility in formulation, but they do need to be well dispersed, whereas dispersions are going to simplify your formulation development and make it easier. But in both cases, the most important thing is to have optimal UVB, UVA, stability, transparency, and sensory. So For dispersions, they're pre-optimized with a dispersant, and this gives consistent performance which will carry through into your formulation, so you don't need to include anything extra. But with powders, the formulation is a bit more complex, so we have more guidelines to assist you with formulations with powders. So the first thing to know is that uncoated zinc oxide is amphiphilic. It has an isoelectric point of around 9. So we recommend high polarity oils, and it can be incorporated into the water phase. And here we would advise using a humectant. With a coated zinc oxide powder, we recommend low polarity oils, as hydrophobic oils will help it incorporate easier. We do recommend a hot oil phase addition, but you can use cold process. We just find that a hot processing aids that incorporation and makes it quicker. One of the most important points to know about zinc oxide is its oil absorbency. Now, we've got data to show that the uncoated zinc oxide has a high oil absorption, so it needs a lot of oil to wet the surface of the powder. And the oil absorption for Sullivan Micno is much higher than you would find for a conventional spherical zinc oxide. So if you're already using a zinc oxide, a traditional zinc oxide from another supplier, and you want to try this unique platelet structure, you need to bear that in mind. Now, what will make it easier to incorporate is to use a stearic acid or a silane coating. So if you're having troubles wetting the powder and formulating it, then I would definitely recommend trying a coated version. So just an example of how this wetting can impact the formulation. For Solavel MZP7, this requires about 81.4 grams of oil to wet 100 grams of powder. So if you were using 15% and say 150 grams of powder, you need 122.1 grams of oil. So you would have 77.9 grams of oil would still be remaining from the oil phase, which could wet other powders in there, or could help solubilize other UV filters, etc. However, if you are using the uncoated, again, same level at 15%, this time you need 202.5 grams of oil to wet the powder. Now, you're only using 200, there would be insufficient oil to wet the powder. So then you would maybe be able to incorporate it, but what you would probably find is that you would get stability or performance issues with your formulation. So formulation with the uncoated zinc oxide is still possible. You just need to make sure you have enough oil in your formulation to do so. In terms of processing, we recommend to add the zinc oxide last to the hot oil phase after all other ingredients have been added. Then to mix your oil phase and make sure any air is dispersed, and then to homogenize it to make sure there's no lumps or particles. Then you would work on your water phase and then combine your water and your oil. And then we'd recommend maintaining a high temperature throughout the incorporation process. And once you've got your emulsion formed, to homogenize again to make sure the zinc oxide is well dispersed. Now, just a point to note about Solavel Micno, it does look different to conventional zinc oxide. That's because it is different. It is not pure white in colour, and that's because of its unique platelet structure. It has an off-white appearance in the bulk. So an example on the image you can see on the left. Again, I'm not sure how easy that is to see on your screen, but it is an off-white colour. The second photo you see is a dispersion. And then the third photo you see is the dispersion used in a formulation. So this formulation does appear off-white. It's not pure white in colour. However, this does not carry through when it's applied onto the skin, of course, because the product looks really transparent when applied to the skin. So I'm now just going to quickly show you some prototype formulations. So this first one is an SPF 30. It's called the Invisible Physical Defense. This was developed by our labs in China, where they've taken the Solavel MZ3100, which is the dispersion in alkyl benzoate, and combined it with another CRODA ingredient, Solavel CT100, which is transparent nano-grade titanium dioxide. And they've made this into a water and oil emulsion, but that has a really light and spreadable skin feel. I'm going to click play on this just in case you are seeing this. This doesn't have any sound, so I hope you can see this. So this is one of our formulators demonstrating the product when it's applied onto the skin. So this is a nice thick cream, very glossy. You can see that is quite white in appearance. Again, in some cases, you don't get this off-white colour, but you can see completely transparent when applied to her skin. And then the second formulation, this is one developed by our labs in Japan. So this is a mineral sheer sunscreen, slightly higher SPF. This is an SPF 40. And this combines the powder, the silane coated powder, with another powder from CRODA, which is the Solavel HTP1. This is the Harmony powder. So this is also non-nano size particle. And this is made in a formulation with like a silicone emollients and water and silicone emulsifiers. So this is a very light and dry emulsion. And again, another video just to show you being applied to the skin. So this is a slightly more fluid emulsion, but still a nice glossy cream. This is, I would say, slightly less transparent than the other formulation. The Solavel Harmony is not as transparent as Solavel CT, which is the nano-sized, but still, obviously, once you apply that and rub that into the skin, it doesn't leave a high level of whitening. So that almost brings me to the end of the presentation. I just wanted to talk to you about some technical support that we can offer. So CRODA are the world's leading supplier of mineral sunscreen dispersions, and we were the first to bring transparent dispersions to the personal care market. We've got a long heritage with our Solavel technology. And as your sustainable solar partner, you can gain access to our global formulation network who have expertise in formulating with this technology. We also have an online Solavel calculator tool. This provides information about what active levels of Solavel are needed to achieve different performance. We offer in-house in vitro and UVA testing service for finished formulations. We can also offer advice from our regulatory experts who are members of the industry consortia on sunscreens. And also we have bespoke product development opportunities. So we do work with customers on collaborations with our technology too. So finally, just a summary of the range. And I will leave this slide up while I invite you, if you have any questions that you would like to ask me, I'm going to remain available for a short while, so please don't hesitate to ask. These are the information about the product range, the full name, the coating, the product form, whether a dispersant is used, so that obviously applies to the dispersions, and then any sort of natural ratings that these products have. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but thank you for listening. Please do ask me if you have any questions.